This morning, a demolition of a house took place down here. This house belonged to a family with 12 children. As the head of the family tried to approach the inspector on the ground with a hot demolition order, the inspector just ignored it. First he tore it up and then he just started the demolition. Last year it demolished about 70 houses in East Jerusalem. This year, and it's only February, already more than 40 houses have been demolished, including this one.
אומרים שאנחנו רוצים שלום בין העם הפלסטיני לבין העם הישראלי. זה שקרנים, לא רוצים. הם נכון שהיו רוצים שלום בין שני העמים, הפלסטינים וישראלים, לא מגיעים לבית בן אדם שאין לו כסף, הוא חי בשני חדרים עם המשפחה מ-12 איש ובעלה ואשתו, לגור בבית מבטון. מה אני יכול להגיד יותר מזה? אני יכול לשלוח מכתב לעם הישראלי שיבוא לכאן לראות הדבר הזה.
Since the founding of the State of Israel in 1948, Israelis and Palestinians have been fighting over the right to live on the land. In 2002, a new era of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict began with the start of construction on a separation wall in the West Bank. While the Israeli government claims that the wall is needed for security reasons, Palestinians see it as a continuation of policies to drive them off their land.
The Israelis say this is a security wall. This is to keep the Palestinian suicide bombers from coming into the Israeli area. There is a little truth in this, but actually most Palestinians believe that this is not a security wall. This wall is to grab more Palestinian land and make it part of the State of Israel. The security is the alibi for grabbing the Palestinian land.
I think when I started to act against the wall and for other things, I didn't know that much about Palestinian society. What I knew was what was happening inside my own society. And I didn't want to live this way. I didn't want to be ashamed to say that I'm Israeli every time that I'm facing a Palestinian Israeli or a Palestinian in the occupied territories or anyone else.
8 years ago, newlyweds William and Wafa Sahuri dreamed of buying a house and starting a family. As their family grew, they bought an apartment in a Greek Orthodox housing project on the outskirts of Bethlehem. But shortly after buying their apartment, they were told that their housing complex was scheduled to be demolished to clear a path for the wall that was to divide Israelis from Palestinians.
The nightmare began when we're new here and we know that they have demolishing orders affected all the project here. The Israelis said that we are building and we build our project here without any permission from the Israeli authorities.
With enough outcry from the Christian community, the Israeli government backed away from the demolition and now plans to encircle the housing complex with a fence.
You imagine that we are living in a small cage with a gate, like the zoo, like prisoners or like the zoo. Just enter and get in and get out through this gate.
We have to get a permission to go through that gate. We can't live a normal life. We only go to work, to school, and come back home. That's it. Even my children, they cannot go anywhere.
The Sahuris are not alone. The path of the wall being built by the Israeli government is affecting countless Palestinians. One United Nations report estimates that approximately 680,000 Palestinians, 30% of the population of the West Bank, will be directly harmed by the wall. Jamal Eid's family lives a few minutes outside of Bethlehem. They've been refugees since 1948, when Israel confiscated their land. With the construction of the wall, they have lost more land.
حقيقة الأمر يعني هم بلشوا فيه من دون إعلام يعني إحنا ساكنين هون وكمان في لنا أرض هون ما أعلموناش لا من ناحية قانونية ولا من ناحية أي تصرف قانوني يعني هم أجوا حطوا وضعوا إيدهم على الأرض الجرافات العسكرية أنا شخصيا رجعتهم وتوجهت إلهم ويعني وضعوا علي البنادق وجها لوجه حكوا لي ارجع ما في هذا قرار عسكري مصادرة، في إمكانية أنك تحط محامي ويأخذوا جزء، لكن وضع اليد يعني خلص، يعني فيش إمكانية أنك تتصرف قانونيا. يعني سرقوا الأرض، هلا أنا علي ممنوع أدخل أقطف الزيتون، ثمار الزيتون، ممنوع أحرث أرضي، وكون فيش لهم حدود لاستيطانهم، لتوسعهم الاستيطاني فيش لهم حدود. يعني اليوم هايتهم 67 كشرعية دولية، دولتين، الدولة الفلسطينية لنا الحق في إقامتها حدود الرابع من حزيران، فيش رابع حزيران، هذا جدار 2003 هذا.
The escalation of violence on both sides of the conflict has made the peace process difficult. Suicide bombers claim revenge for attacks by the Israeli Defense Forces. The IDF, in return, invade Palestinian cities, targeting Hamas and Islamic Jihad militants in hopes of deterring suicide bombers. Few would deny Israel the right to protect itself from terrorism, but many question Israel's true motive behind building the wall.
The wall is an outcome of hatred and fear and history and lack of logic and deep horror that surrounds the Israeli society today because of the vicious terrorist attacks on kids, on schools, on coffee houses everywhere, without stopping for 1 second to think and to evaluate really what will this wall do. It will just create more anger, more terror, more catastrophes.
The wall is being built on the Palestinian lands and it's shifted from the 1948 borders that are the green line. It's looping like a snake inside the Palestinian territories, and it's been built near or opposite to the Palestinian built-up area. We see that the wall here, it was planned to grab much of the Palestinian land.
The boundary known as the Green Line was recognized as the border between Israel and the West Bank by the international community in 1949. Thus far, the planned route of the wall disregards the Green Line and dips deep into the occupied territories. In the northern part of the West Bank, in the district of Qalqilia, the path of the wall winds through farmland, separating Israeli settlements from Palestinian villages. While plans for the unbuilt sections of the wall keep changing, it's clear that the route of the completed wall in Qalqilia holds little resemblance to the internationally recognized borders.
الخط الأحمر هو الجدار.
The red line is the wall, means the wall. Here.
الخط الأخضر هذا اللي هو حدود 48.
This is the green line in 1948.
هاي قلقيلية، محافظة قلقيلية بشكل عام محافظة زراعية بالدرجة الأولى. لما بنلاحظ إنه أغلقت من جميع الجهات وبقيت مساحة صغيرة من الأراضي الزراعية حواليها، إنه معناه وعزلها عن محيطها، الكرة الموجودة انعزلت عنها، وبالتالي هي مصيرها إلى الموت.
In the northern part of the West Bank area is considered as the fruit basket for the Palestinians. Now this wall will separate those people from the lands, and the wall will include those fertile lands at the Israeli side.
In my opinion, this is a continuation for the strategy of colonialization and building the settlements inside the West Bank, which they started in since the 70s. And the wall is just the accumulation of this strategy to control the life of the Palestinians and to make them hopeless without future. Actually, this wall is going to control the natural resources the Palestinians could rely on to build their own state and economy.
In response to the emergency water needs in the Palestinian villages, several groups, including Catholic Relief Services and Mennonite Central Committee, have partnered with the Palestinian Hydrology Group. Together, they repair water pipes damaged by the construction of the wall.
We noticed that there is an emergency situation that the Palestinian family is passing through the last few months as a result of the wall. The purpose of the project is to provide help for the Palestinian farmers who are separated from their lands by the separation wall, which the Israelis. We are trying to provide them with the water.
All water resources in this village was taken. We have in Jayus, as I said, 1 million cubic meter of water behind the wall. And now we don't have any drop of water from our resources. For this village also, like many other villages in this district and other districts, more than 75% of our fertile and good land was now either destroyed under the wall or seized behind the wall.
The humanitarian impact on the Palestinian people is devastating already. Already the Palestinians suffer from poverty and from economic catastrophe. The wall is going to add to this. When people are denied the right to have a job, when people are denied to get to their farms, when people are denied movement, this means their economy is going to suffer.
These trees were uprooted by the wall. For this farmer, they uprooted more than 70 trees like this. He couldn't bear to see his trees uprooted without doing anything for it. Therefore, he decided to bring them here in front of his house and try to recover them. Unfortunately, this tree was not recovered. We have 550 families here in Jayus. You could have 550 stories from this village.
Assam Khalid is one of the many farmers in the town of Jayus. He comes from a long line of farmers.
For me, the land, as a farmer, it means to me that it's like my child's. There's no difference. My child and the land are the same thing to me.
Since the wall went up, Assam has not been permitted to reach his land. He was denied a permit to pass through the gate that separates him from his land for security reasons.
It's the first greenhouses over there. Also, this trees is mine, beside the greenhouses. All these trees also is mine. This area is mine, my area. We don't support the terrorists, we don't support anything. We just want to live, and to get a better life for our children in the future.
The relation between the farmer and his land is very important. It's not only his source of living, but all the stories of the people, dreams, is mixed with the soil.
اللي أرض 200 دلم خلف الجدار العازل. هذه قطعة الأرض تسمى وادي المناسف وظهر المناسف. من حوض رقم 2 235. شايف؟ وهذه أنا أملكها من مئات السنين عن آبائنا وجدودنا. شايف؟ طبعا لما دخلت سمحوا لي في الدخول الساعة 1:30 تقريبا من البوابة. ضليت متجه لأرضي. لما رحت هناك لأرضي لقيتها تجرفت، بقول لهم شو بتشتغلوا فيه هنا؟ اللي بقول شو بدك إياه؟ قلت له كلمني أنت، قلت له أنا من عسلة وصاحب الأرض هذه. قالوا لا هذه مش الأرض مش لك. قلت لهم لا هذه الأرض اللي وبأملكها عن آباء وجدود، وعندي خرايط وعندي إخراج كيد وعندي كل شيء فيها، وهذه أرضي. قال مين اللي سمح لك تدخل هون؟ قلت لهم أنا دخلت عن طريق مشروع، عن طريق تصريح، واتصلت عليه عن طريق محامي وجبت هي تصريح وأنا جاي على الأرض، وهذه الأرض ممنوع لازم تطلعوا منها. قالوا هذه أرض إسرائيل. قلت لهم لا مش أرض إسرائيل. أرض إسرائيل من الخط الأخضر والداخل. أرض إسرائيل اللي جات عليها 2000 منشي، هذه مش أرض إسرائيل، هذه أرض فلسطينية كلها، وهذه أرضنا وإحنا حرين.
All our land was taken behind the wall. We raised a case with the Israeli High Court that this is our land and nobody has the right to work in it or to cut it or to keep it away from us. Israeli High Court gave the decision that this is your land. You can grow it. You can do whatever you like. This is your farm. This is your land. So you can do whatever you like in your land. But unfortunately, as you see, there is no gate. We cannot reach it. We cannot do anything. Even the olive trees, we could not this year, we could not even collect the olive fruits.
The reason is that they want us to leave the land. This land is a fertile land. It has a water and all this, so they want to take all these sources of life.
The Israelis want more land, and the Israelis try to confiscate the empty lands from homes. That's why you could notice that the route of the wall is close to the homes, and the agricultural land is behind the law to the Israeli side. They want to make their farming work too difficult and force them to leave the land.
The way the wall is being built now is only going to serve to divide and to build mistrust and miscommunication, and it's going to create a social catastrophe as well as a humanitarian problem.
But as I say, everything is uncertain. We don't know.
World Vision has been working in the occupied territories since 1975. Recently, they've seen increased hardship in the Palestinian communities where they work.
The work of World Vision is to provide hope in the midst of despair and to give people alternatives to feeling despair.